Recently, Games Workshop released a brand new Huron Blackheart model, and it is incredible. There's so much detail and character, but unfortunately, with all of that detail and character comes a little bit of intimidation, a little bit of painting fear, because I want this guy to be the best looking mini ever, but I am a little bit worried I'm not ready for it, and I won't be able to do it justice. But what I will say is over the past few weeks and so, we've been working our way through the Red Corsair box, and I do think I might be ready for it, you know. But I think the best way to test that is to do a little dry practice run, and there is no better model to do that on than the Red Corsair Reaver Captain. The dude himself is a little mini Huron. He's got the same like iron halo, the fur, even a tactical rocket stands on. So today I thought we could paint that boy up, treat it like a dry practice run for Huron, and just talk about how we prepare for these big intimidating models. And here it is, our Red Corsair Reaver Captain in his obscene amount of sub-assemblies. It'll all make sense when we get to the individual parts, don't worry. But yeah, the model itself is incredible. It's so cool, and this is exactly what I meant by it's almost like a miniature Huron anyway. So I've got the sprue for him here actually, and if we just bring it over, you can kind of see like, yeah, the backpacks are real similar with the big iron halo and trophies. The cloak for Huron's got like nice fur across the top, and so is this one. Obviously, it's not to the same extremities, like the fur and the details and the backpack are like turned up to 11 on Huron, but there are a lot of similarities to the point where we can paint this up as if it's like, this is the practice run, this is the dress rehearsal before opening night, and we can really be like, okay, are we ready for the big man himself? And where we're going to start in terms of painting him is obviously this sort of red sponging technique. So what I do for this is we load up a whole bunch of Khorne Red on a sponge, and we sponge across all the sections that we want to be red with this nice Khorne Red sponge. And what this lets us do is build up some nice highlights, because after this we're going to put on some Evil Sunz Scarlett on the sponge, and sponge on some highlights, and then that gives us this sort of like 3-layered approach where we've got some Khorne Red layers, some Evil Sunz highlights, and then hidden in some of the sections where the sponge couldn't get, we've got that black prime coming through because we primed him in matte black, Raven Black from the Colour Forge. I keep forgetting what the name is. So yeah, we sponge on that chest. You might be able to see if I zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, there's some like little recesses in there where the belt meets the chest that the sponge can't get to, and it leaves it black. And I quite like that, because then when we've done all these 2 sponging layers, what we do is we put some like red contrast paint over the top, and that darkens the highlights and the Khorne, kind of brings them together, like kind of softens the transitions, and then that brightens up the recesses of black that the sponge couldn't get to. So you get these nice sort of like bright highlights, dark recesses, and then also the sort of mid Khorne sections. And that is all we do for the red armour. Looking real nice. Those nice volumetric highlights on like the upper bit here. I guess on his hand there, you can kind of see it comes out. And on that knee down there. It's looking good. Added a couple edge highlights as well. You can see on the top of that knee, in the corner here, some on the hand. I did try to glaze a little bit of that Wild Rider red onto his hand here. Didn't come out too well. Not very good. But on the actual finger and the gloves, you can kind of see, yeah, those bright bits just there, and the dark red recesses. But no, overall looking real good. Some nice recesses down there, a little bit of like edge highlighting of Wild Rider on the hand. Yeah, really happy with it. One thing I'm not happy with though, that I need to work on, and I need to sort of, this is a whole like highlighting thing anyway, is sort of trying to envision where the light is coming from on the model. So one thing I've done down here is if I hold it at this angle, you can kind of see, I've put the highlights like at the top of here and then down here, as if the hammer or the mace, sorry, is blocking the light. If you come round, like the middle bit here isn't as highlighted, there's a kind of a bit darker in there, which looks cool. That's a great idea, it's a great image, kind of is simulating the light. But under that sort of thought process, there shouldn't be as many highlights on this side, I don't think. Because if the light's like coming in from this way, maybe this section here should be a little bit brighter, and then maybe that hand around here shouldn't be as bright. So just trying to be aware of where I think the light is coming from in the sections rather than just sort of highlighting everything. Maybe just trying to be a bit more conscious of the light source is what I'm trying to get at. But no, overall, really happy with the red. But what we're moving on to now is just the black armor panels. So we've primed them in black, but we always like to put another layer of Abaddon Black over the top. Yeah, there's just the black armor panels with some of the grey highlights done in them and some of the trim down there. Basically just all the stuff at the legs because, well, we've got this cape that we'll touch on in a second. But that's really, really nice. I love the gold. This is the first Red Corsair, I think, that's had gold trim. Looking at Huron, the box art, even he doesn't have it. But it is really nice. I like it. I also do love the grey highlights in those black panels. It really just gives them shape and structure. Absolutely love it. So that's everything for like these legs down here. We are going to do the base next because this cloak kind of obscures a little bit. That's why we've been kind of doing stuff down here, because this is just blue tacked on for now. But we are going to put a base of some colours down and then dry brush. But if this cape was on, it'd be hard to get in. So that's why we've left that off, and that's why we're going to do that next. A little bit of a strange order, but it makes sense to me in my head, you know. The base has just had some Armageddon dust on it to give it some texture, and we primed it black. Like I mentioned, we are going to dry brush some greys on, like Dawnstone, Eshin and stuff, but first I'm just putting this little 50-50 mix of Eshin Grey and Corvus Black, just like a real dark grey, just to put like a foundation on to dry brush over. But what I do want to talk about is, I feel like we've jumped to the end of the process. So this whole video is, you know, how do you prepare for a big centerpiece model for your new army? So I feel like I've jumped to my final stage of my process, which is doing a dry practice run on a big character that's quite close. So what we should probably do is take a step back. So I think my process, there's only like maybe 3 stages to it. So if we use the Red Corsairs, for example, because that's literally the model we're painting and the army we've been working on for the past, God, it's been like 2 months or so now. So yeah, I guess my process starts with stage 1, which is trying to find a recipe we like. So what I like to do is try experimenting with a few different ways of painting the Red Corsairs. So if you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know that we did a video a while back where we tried out like some metallic paints, some contrasts, some layers and some sponging. And that way, what we do is when we find a recipe we like, we can refine it. Such stage 2, we can refine the recipe, try different things out, little highlights, maybe different colors, maybe different details. That way, with those 2 stages, we can develop a real nice recipe that we like and foundational, so that when it comes to painting Huron, we don't have to think about what colours go where, what highlights do we put, what paint should we use. It just lightens the mental load, so we can actually focus on the fun part about painting, the dexterity, the brush control, the application, stuff like that. So yeah, stage 1 and 2 is basically just testing recipes, refining it into one we like, so we can lighten our mental load. And then yeah, the stage after that is what you're seeing now, is we take that recipe we've got, we find a model that's very like big and charactery and kind of similar to what we want to paint, and do a dry practice run and just pretend to be like, okay, if we were to paint it, the Huron now, how would it look? How would we feel? I say all this is my process, my sort of like 1, 2, 3 of finding a recipe, refining it, and doing a tester run. There's nothing stopping you from just finding a tutorial online, trying it out and jumping in head first. And yeah, I mean, this model right now is proving my point. So we've got a base that we like, you know, something I've worked on over the course of, my God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe about 9 or 10 models. Like we've done this base about 10 times, so I know sort of how to do it. I know what I like about it, the fun parts, so I don't even need to think about it. So I can actually just sit here and yap on and talk while painting. So yeah, that base is just some greys. So it's like we saw the Corvus Eshin mix, and then we'll dry brush on some Dawnstone and some Administratum Grey over the top to give it a light dusting. I say that, actually, first I want to put down some Retributor Armour on this big thing he's standing on. That way when we dry brush the Administratum Grey afterwards, it'll kind of like get on with this big icon thing he's standing on and kind of make it look like it's part of the environment. So we'll do that first and then we'll carry on with the dry brushing. Right, so there's just some of the trinkets around the waist, that sort of like holster around the side with the straps on it, and then like some green leather belts. Oh, and a pouch. Really nice. Actually, you know what? I really like that pouch. I used the XV88 for the first time. I brought it a little while back. I've never used it. But yeah, I went for like a Mournfang Agrax base and then highlighted with XV88. It's a little spattering. It's really nice. Big fan of that. And then yeah, that sort of green Death Guard, Death Corp mix that we've been using for our green leather. I like it as well, real nice. And then the piece to the resistance, that base, oh my god, I'm so happy with how that gold has turned out. A proper old, worn, tattered gold is so good. I just sponged on some black, like literally Abaddon Black around just here, some of the tips around the back, just to add some like wear and tear to it. And then I dry brushed some of the Administratum Grey, you can kind of see like just there a little bit, just as if it was dusty from like the wasteland. But I'm so happy with how that old, aged, worn gold looks against like the red and the black. Oh, it's really nice. To be fair, next up we're going to do the cape, this thing. And I guess while we're moving on to that, I can explain why I left it off, because if you notice, if we put it on... Yeah, so if it was glued on from the start, it might have been a little bit awkward to get around to some of these pouches, some of the legs around the back. Maybe that little pouch in there, the brown pouch. Whereas if you take it off, we can access all of this with ease. So that's why we left it off. And then our plan now is I'm going to paint all this up and then glue it on afterwards, like midway through, because yeah, you need to glue it together to paint the fur. So, like I mentioned, we'll start on this cloak, and what we're going to do is fairly simple, to be fair, and it's quite reminiscent of what we've already done on the Mini, is I'm just going to put down a base of Corvus Black. That's what's on the brush now. Just a rough baseline. Corvus Black isn't as dark as Abaddon Black or as grey as Eshin. It kind of sits in between Eshin Grey and Abaddon. Just going to put a whole coat of that over everywhere, and then I'm going to sponge on with that a makeup sponge the same 3 greys we've used on the base, just so it's kind of all coherent and sits together. Cool, so we've just done that cape like we mentioned, those greys to match the base, and the gold on the knee, and then just like a fleshy, like Riekland Fleshshade, Rakarth Flesh, just simple like cloth on his tabard. And then with that done, we're just gluing on the cloak, because now, yeah, we've done all that stuff down the bottom. That was like the plan. Sub-assembling the cloak so we could get inside it and like get a nice good coverage, and also get to the stuff around the bottom of the legs. But we've done that now, so we can glue the cloak on, and it's looking so nice. Oh yeah, it's really good. Like, I'm going to paint the fur grey, so the same greys I've been using on everything else. Eshin for a base, Dawnstone for some edge highlights, so actually some quite heavy-handed highlights, and then Administratum for some spot highlights. And I was a little bit, do I want to use grey? Do I want to use the same greys I've been using for everything else? You know, like we've used it on the base, the cloak, now the fur. But no, I do quite like the idea of making it this coherent sort of image, like they've all got the same matching look and the vibe. Especially because, like, I feel like the Red Corsairs, because they're nice and vibrant themselves, it's a nice grey kind of frame on that fur, the cloak, and the base, like a top, middle, and bottom, and a nice like backdrop. It's a nice backdrop and frame for the bright red on the middle, and the gold on the knee, and then what colour the weapon's going to be? Yeah, just like silver. It should be like a nice bright colour on that grey. So yeah, I was a little bit apprehensive on using the same like set of 3 greys so much, but I do think it's going to be quite nice to frame the whole mini and look good in the end. Right, I'm almost done with just the base colours on this backpack halo. Just putting some silver on it and then we can Nuln Oil and put some details on. But I just wanted to touch on the fur we've just done while I wait for this to dry. Just put this one bit there. Because I feel like the fur on his cloak and shoulders is the perfect representation of why I am doing this project and this idea, and while I'm preparing for a big model like Huron with a smaller miniature version of him like this. So Huron himself has got some fur all over his collar. Yeah, just like that. I mean, it's like a light brown rather than the grey. But what I wanted to do is test out edge highlighting fur. I think over the past few months we've really come a long way with edge highlighting, and we've gotten a loads better with it, to the point where I feel confident enough to edge highlight each individual strand of fur one piece at a time. And I do think it looks really nice. I really, really like it. And I wanted to try that out on this to be like, okay, are we good enough with that to do it on something like Huron? Because I want that to be obviously the best model I've ever done. It's my Chaos Space Marine Army centrepiece. And yeah, I think I do like it on this side, where it's a lot more finer strands. But then once you get the thicker ones over this side, it's not as good, I don't think. I'm not sure. But I think what I might do with Huron is stick to wet blending for the base, and then maybe do some edge highlights on the fur. I'll definitely plan it out after this project. I just kind of wanted to touch on the fact that this little fur section is such a good representation of this whole process and why I'm doing it this way. Because yeah, I got to test out something I felt confident about and thought, oh, maybe we are good enough at it, and try it out before, you know, we put it onto a big guy like Huron. But really happy with that. And the backpack, this will probably be dry enough to put some Nuln Oil on. So we'll just do that. Nuln Oil on all the silver. What are these trophies? It's like a skull. Oh, I've missed out that spike. And a like Imperial Aquila with a wrap. It's only 2 tiny details, so what I'll probably do is just bash out all the little details, like on his chest as well. He's got that like leather strap across his body, a skull, another Imperial Aquila. And then it might just be the weapons. Alright, it's almost done now. I'm just trying to slap on some of the colours on the weapons, just a whole bunch of silvers and Rattling Grime, and then there'll be some like glowing sort of effect in this plasma and also in the hammer on the other side. Some Sotek Green and Baharroth Blue. But we'll get there in a minute, because one thing I was thinking is this guy has taken a lot longer than I thought. There's just a lot more details than I thought there would be, and it's taken me a bit longer to get him done than I expected. But that's probably can actually be relevant to the topic that we're talking about, and the whole point of this video is preparing for like a big model like a Huron or a centrepiece. It's probably one thing you can't prepare for is how long the models take, because it can take you by surprise, to be fair. Like, I remember when I painted up the Black Templar Redemptor Dreadnought, that thing took me, like, honestly, about 2 weeks solid. And it was over Christmas, so I wasn't even working, so I had a little bit more free time. But yeah, I do think the time it takes to paint some big models is something that's kind of hard to prepare for. Well, for me personally, I think I always underestimate how long they take. I'm sure people with common sense probably look at bigger models and think, yeah, this thing will take a while. But sometimes I underestimate them. Definitely with this guy and all of his cool details and like his trophies and backpacks and everything. Right, that's all the base colours done on the weapons. What's left is just two minor things. The head, which I've kind of started with the wraps. I just need to put some Earthshade on it. And then I've got some effects on these weapons. So they're a bit plain. And I noticed in the box art and the reference image is that this thing has like some lightning coming out of it. So we've got some Baharroth Blue. We'll just fill in some of this like middle bit and then try and draw some lightning. I guess base of Baharroth and then highlight with Blue Horror. Yeah, something like that. Oh, okay, hold on. That could not have gone worse. It could have gone worse, but not by much. That looks awful. Oh, it's like a 3-year-old has just kind of gone a bit ham on it. Yeah, it's okay. I'm always down to try new things and give it a go rather than just never ever try. But I don't like that at all. So we're just going to cover it up with some Leadbelcher and pretend it wasn't there. What I might do was my original plan and actually just do a light dry brushing or a heavy dry brush of Sotek Green and then a light dry brushing of Baharroth Blue, just all around here, just to give the effect that it's kind of radiating power and glowing. That way it doesn't look as plain and boring, but also doesn't look like a 3-year-old has attacked it with some crayons. Oh boy, that was bad. But like I mentioned, it's always good to try, and as I'm kind of showing off here, is even if you mess up, you can just cover it up with some paint and it's like it never happened. And here he is, our Red Corsair Reaver Captain, and wow, what an incredible, like, just the sculpt of the mini is unreal. There was loads of hype and buzz around this guy when he first came out, and I can see why. This was sublime. Such a cool, interesting, full of character and detail, and perfect for what we wanted, which was, yeah, to kind of practice for something a bit bigger. I will say, as much as I love him, I do feel a little bit, I don't know, I feel like we fell at the final hurdle, because, like, he looks incredible, he's so cool. I'm just really not happy with the glow effect on like the mace and the plasma coil. I think it's a bit messy and doesn't look too great. So it's kind of annoying because they are quite big chunky bits either side. But if we ignore that and just focus on the good, because everything else is incredible. I love it. Like I touched on it briefly throughout the video, but I love the grey that frames the whole mini. So the fur on the shoulders, that cool grey base for the top and the bottom, and then like the grey back cloak that goes between his legs. It's a nice like top, middle, bottom that frames the whole thing against this nice grey backdrop. Love that. I absolutely love, again, like I mentioned, how the bright red bold armour of the Red Corsairs lets you use a lot of muted colours. So if I zoom in, yeah, so we've used a nice muted green for all of the leather. We've used like Agrax Earthshade on the wraps and the handle, all the greys like we've mentioned. It just looks really, really nice against that nice, bright, vibrant like red. Really makes it stand out, and it's just such a nice, cool combo. I absolutely love it. And then yeah, just all the details in this guy are awesome. I love how much gold is on him. It's incredible. It makes it all shiny and regal and extra. The backpack wasn't as much work as I thought, and it's really, really cool. That big sort of iron halo. There we go. Get a good shot of it. Yeah, really nice. It makes just everything that makes him look extra. The big halo, the thing across his chest, the tabard, just the stance. I think my favourite thing is the base as well. Like that Eshin Grey Barren waist is cool, but then yeah, this burnt, charred, destroyed gold insignia that he's standing on makes him feel really elevated and regal. So definitely really happy with this. I feel like it was the perfect mini for the job we wanted. And although obviously I'm upset about the plasma and like the glowing effect on the weapons, it did serve its purpose. Like we were trying to prepare for Huron Blackheart, a bigger model. And at least now I know either that's something I need to focus on before I go into Huron, or maybe just avoid and don't do and try something else. So as sad as I am about the weapons, it still turned out good. And I think everything else on this boy was just incredible. I absolutely love him. He's so cool. You know what? I think we're ready for Huron. I think after painting that boy, I feel confident. I feel like we can do it and do it justice, you know. It is a shame about the glow on the weapons. Just like looking at them now, it's just like, oh, my eyes are drawn to them straight away. I really don't like them. So that is a little bit of a shame. But let's be honest, I'm probably just going to cover them with paint anyway. I was already thinking anyway, like, yeah, maybe some Balthazar instead of silver, maybe tie it up a little bit, change it. So I've already got some ideas to fix it. But like I mentioned, it's okay. We know that's something we need to work on. Maybe not to try on Huron, because I do want that boy to be like the best thing ever. I want this to be like my centerpiece of the army. And I do feel confident enough and feel like we're ready for it. I've even I've got the sprue on my desk already. I'm gonna like probably finish filming this maybe while it's uploading, make a start on this and build him and get him ready, because he just looks so cool and I'm so keen to get started. So yeah, if you're keen for Huron and to see what it looks like and how I do with it, drop a like and subscribe so you get notified when that goes up. But as always, thanks for watching and see you next time.